I will be providing the CommVault demo session for today. We'll be conducting the CommVault demo session for today. Now, moving forward, I will just start with my brief introduction. I have total 8 years of experience in CommVault. I have been working in the cloud migration also. If I specifically talk about the CommVault, I have been working on the CommVault for the last 8 years. I started my career as a CommVault engineer, as a support engineer, and then probably gradually moved to the implementation and designing. And then now for the last 2.5 years, I'm working as a freelancer trainer on CommVault. But nowadays, like I have been doing the cloud migration as well. That is using the CommVault as well as the other external tools which are available. So this is a very high level introduction for from my side. From the technical perspective, what we're going to do is we are going to talk about the course curriculum. Okay, when I say course curriculum, we're going to talk about our course content. What are the topics that we are going to cover from the CommVault perspective? So a course content with respect to CommVault will be divided into 3 parts, that is course fundamental, implementation and maintenance, and the advanced infrastructure. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what are the individual topics that we are going to cover under each and every heading that we have, that is course fundamental, implementation, maintenance, and advanced infrastructure design. Moving to this one, for the classroom training, if we are doing a classroom training, this entire training is actually divided, as I already told you, will be divided into 3 parts: core fundamental, implementation, maintenance, advanced infrastructure and design. But if you're doing a classroom training, the number of days that I will be required to complete this one is for core fundamental 3 days, implementation and maintenance 2 days, and the infrastructure design 3 days. But this implementation, maintenance plus advanced infrastructure design, I will be completing within 2 days. I will be completing all of these 2: implementation, maintenance, and the advanced infrastructure design within 2 days. So total number of days that we require for the classroom training to get complete is the core fundamental is 5. But if we are doing an online training, we are not doing the entire day training as well. So generally I keep it in the terms of number of hours that we require to complete this training. So number of hours that we require to complete all these 3 topics is actually from 18 hours to 24 hours. How the candidates are comfortable, like candidates can provide me 1 hour on a daily basis. Sometimes they say like we are comfortable with the 2 hours on a daily basis. Sometimes they need it on the what you can say, like on a fast track course. They opt for the fast track course in which we are doing a training for 4 to 5 hours on a daily basis. So that on the basis of the how many hours candidate is providing me on a daily basis, that we using that calculation, we can give the number of days. But online training, I always say that we require 18 to 24 hours to complete the training, depending upon the candidate. Okay, it depends on the candidate how they want to provide me those number of hours. If I talk about the course content under the core fundamental, the prerequisite, like if anybody want to take this course, main prerequisite for this one is that we should have the very basic understanding of the networking concept. That's it. We do not require a very in-depth knowledge for the networking where they should be having like configuring the route and all that. No, we do not require that much of in-depth knowledge. We require just a basic understanding of the networking where you understand what are the IPs, how the communication happens between the clients. You should know how to check the connectivity between the 2 servers, like putting the ping command, which is a very basic when it comes to the networking. That is the only prerequisite that we have for somebody to take up this course. If you don't have any knowledge related to backup or related to CommVault, don't worry about that. That is the reason why we are here. If I talk about the core fundamental, the topics that we are going to cover will be including administrative overview, security, administrative tasks, MediaAgent, disk storage, tape storage, indexing, deduplication, storage policies, retention, client key structure, CommVault agent, subclients, data protection, recopy, like taking of the backup and performing the restoration of that data, and the basics about the monitoring, in which I will explain you about the alerts and the reporting options which are available in CommVault. And I will show you, even give you a brief about if you want to work with the CommVault support, how you're going to work it. In the core fundamental, we are going to touch base each and every basic topic related to CommVault. Once we complete that one, in the second course that we have implementation and maintenance, in this one, all the topics that we have seen in the core fundamental, all those topics will be covered from the designing and implementation perspective. For example, we have seen that we're going to discuss about the administrative overview, and we're going to discuss about the Commcell and MediaAgent and everything like disk library and all that. In implementation and maintenance, we are going to see the Commcell and MediaAgent in a very detail. I'm just taking up an example of one topic. When I say in very detail, we're going to see that, what should be the hardware specification for the Commcell. What should be the size of the drive? What should be the type of the drive that should be used, whether it should be SSD, it should be 15K, 7K, 10K, whatever the type of disk we are going to use. What are the best practices which are there around the Commcell, like whether it should be hosted on the virtual machine, it should be hosted on the physical machine, in what scenario it should be in cluster and all that. So we are going to, cover each and every topic from the designing and implementation perspective. In the same way, we are going to perform, like we are going to discuss the MediaAgent, like what should be the sizing of the MediaAgent, how many MediaAgent should be there, on what factor number of MediaAgent will be decided, and so on. Like every topic will be covered from the designing and implementation perspective in the second one. Moving towards the last module that we have is the advanced infrastructure design. In advanced infrastructure design, we are going to cover few of the things which involve, like the few of the detailed things like Commcell design, media agent scaling, which we have will be already discussed in the implementation and designing, and the few advanced topics which include and not limited to but the grid technology, send data server, and the cloud computing, deduplication design, and all that. In the virtualization, we are going to cover about the VSA. We are going to configure the backup about the VMware. We are going to perform the backup for the VMs under the VMware, and then we'll perform the restoration for them. We're going to discuss what are the transport modes available and all that. These are the topics that we are going to cover for the virtualization. Then we are going to cover a very important topic from the CommVault perspective, that is IntelliSnap, in which we're going to see the overview of the IntelliSnap. We're going to see how exactly the IntelliSnap works, what is the advantage of IntelliSnap, in what scenario it should be recommended. Then we are going to configure the IntelliSnap for few of the agents, like for the NAS backup and all that. After that, we are going to cover something called app-aware backup, which is related to the VMware. So we will discuss the app-aware backup as well. Then in last, we are going to discuss the few performance overview, the few best practices that we have to keep in mind from the CommVault perspective. These first two modules which we have, core, fundamental, and implementation and maintenance, will go hand in hand. Not like we're going to cover first core fundamentals and then we are going to implementation and maintenance. When we discuss a topic, we'll discuss a topic from the fundamental perspective, and then we'll gradually move to the implementation and designing as well. These are the content that we are going to cover. Just one more thing that I want to highlight, that the topic, these the main things, like if I talk about the agent, what are the agents that we will actually deploy in the lab? So the agent will be, we're going to configure the flat file backup for the Windows server. We are going to perform the restoration for that one. We are going to configure a backup for the SQL database. We are going to configure the backup for the VMware. We are going to configure a backup for the NAS device, and we are going to configure the backup for the IntelliSnap. So these are the agents that we generally deploy while performing the lab. I know, candidates have questions like, what about the Oracle? What about the Exchange? We want to learn that as well. So for that one, I will be providing you the document. I will provide you the document for them, that how you can configure the backup for the Oracle. And if you want to discuss around that one, we can discuss that one. But in the lab, it's not feasible to, implement the Oracle database and then provide you the, step-by-step process for the configuration. So that is little difficult from the lab perspective. So if you need help on those ones, so I will be providing you document for the Oracle and Exchange and all that. But these, whatever the agent which I told you earlier on, those are the agents that we are going to deploy actually physically in the lab. So this will be our course content. These are the things that we are going to cover. These are the topics that we are going to cover. Now, what will be the today's agenda? In this particular demo, we are going to take one technical topic and we are going to discuss around it. Okay, and we're gonna see first. We're gonna see a little detail about the CommVault, what exactly the CommVault is. We'll talk about a little history about the CommVault, and then we will see the basic architecture of the CommVault, in which we are going to see all the components, that what are the basic components that which are there in CommVault and how exactly they work together. Coming back to the CommVault, the latest version. First, we need to understand what exactly CommVault is. We should know what exactly the CommVault is. CommVault is a backup software. When I say backup software, that means it is responsible for backing up the data. There in your production environment or in anywhere, there are the critical applications which are running. Let's suppose there's a SQL database which is running. Let's suppose there's an Oracle database which is running, Exchange database, or many other applications which are running on a server. Now tomorrow, if that application is gone or that application got corrupted, now if you have the data available from the back date, okay, if you have a data available, or you have already, placed, or you have created a copy of that particular data in the past, you will be able to recover that. If that is one server or two server, you can do it manually. But when you have thousands of servers, you require some software which can back up all those data automatically on the daily basis. There are multiple tools which are there in the market for that one. One of them is CommVault. And if I have to name the other backup tools which are available in the market is Net Backup. Rubrik is there. Now the Cohesity is also coming up. From the EMC, there are Networker and MMR which are there. So there are the multiple backup tools which are available in the market to configure, to complete that requirement. We're going to discuss about the CommVault. CommVault was introduced back in 1996 by some companies for its internal use, for the in-house support. When I say in-house support, they were like, it was designed for backing up the servers of its companies, some company servers itself. But it was so good that it got a popularity later on and it was commercialized for the other companies as well. Now, the latest version that we have in the CommVault right now is actually V11 Service Pack 20. That is the latest version. V11 Service Pack 20. V11 represents the version. We have the version number 11 which is in the market right now. What CommVault does, CommVault every 3 months keep on introducing the service pack, the new service pack. The new service pack actually has the bug fix from the last service pack as well as a new feature. Every 3 months they keep on introducing the new service pack. So last service pack that was introduced on 15th June 2020, and in this way every 3 months they will be introducing the new service pack. So if we talk about the next service pack, like it will be coming up in the July, August, on 15th September, then probably on 15th December, then 15th March, and so on. So right now they have reached to the service pack 20. For the version 11, it started from the service pack 1, V11 service pack 1 and all. Before the V11, we were having something called version 10. V10. Now version 10 has already been, out of support since December 2017. After December 2017, version 10 is no more supported. The last service pack that was introduced in the version 10 was service pack 15. After service pack 15, they actually introduced a new version that is V11. Version like CommVault V11. And in that V11, the latest service pack that we are on is service pack 20. Now, before V10, we were having something called CommVault Sympana 9, which you can look at this picture which we have CommVault Sympana 9. Before that, we were having CommVault Sympana 8. Earlier on guys, this CommVault backup software was known as with the complete name CommVault Sympana 8. Sympana represents the backup software name, where the CommVault was the name of the company and the number 8 or the number 9 represent the version number. So version was 9, software name was Sympana, and the company name was CommVault. But CommVault as a company realized that the word Sympana is not being that popular as CommVault. People know this backup software not with the name of Sympana, they know this backup software with the name CommVault. So that was the only reason why from the version 10 onward they dropped the word Sympana. They simply keep it to CommVault V10 and CommVault V11. There was no technical reason behind it. They simply dropped it because of the popularity that the word CommVault has. Now, this is about basic history about the CommVault as a backup software. We'll try to discuss the basic architecture for the CommVault. We'll try to see what are the basic components that we have in CommVault and what is the function of those basic components. Now, this is the Commcell basic architecture that we have. So, in this one, we have 4 main components. That is Commcell, MediaAgent, Client, and Library. We are going to discuss all these components one by one. The first component in the list that we have is as a Commcell. Commcell is also known as the master server. Is also known as the common name that is called master server. From the CommVault perspective, we call this as a Commcell. Now, this Commcell is actually a commanding and controlling unit for the entire backup infrastructure. Entire backup infrastructure, all the backup related components will be controlled by this particular Commcell only. This Commcell is the one which is responsible for managing the entire backup infrastructure. All the policies that you create, all the rules that you gonna create, you will be creating on the Commcell, and according to those rules, this Commcell is going to control each and every component which is MediaAgent, Client, and Library. Now, when I say you are going to create the rules over here, when I say rules, I'm referring to the simple rules where you want to say that for this particular client, when the backup should be running, like at 6 p.m., 5 p.m., 8 p.m., what time? So at 6 p.m. backup should be running. What type of backup should be running? Full backup, incremental backup, differential backup. So you decide that one as well. What data should be getting backed up from every server? Like it should be getting a C drive you want to back up, D drive you want to back up, or you want to back up some file from the D drive or some folder from the D drive. That also you define in the Commcell. Once you have defined those policies, according to that policy, Commcell will control or trigger or ultimately you can say command the entire backup infrastructure according to those rules. Now this is the basic functionality of your CommVault. It is acting as the commanding and controlling unit for your backup infrastructure. Now, since you are creating all those policies and everything, all that information is maintained by CommServe in something called metadatabase. Metadatabase contains the information like data about data. Okay, it can all the policies that you are creating will get stored inside this metadatabase. Also, all the information of your backup infrastructure, that what backup has run in the past, where it has been saved, for how long it has been retained, all that information is actually getting stored inside this metadatabase only. So it contains all the metadata related to your backup infrastructure. Okay, this metadatabase is not a simple database that you can say like that this information is not getting stored in some of PDF or text file. No, all that metadata is getting stored in the metadatabase, which is actually a Microsoft SQL database. It's a SQL database inside which all the metadata is getting stored. So I can say CommServe in the background uses a SQL database to store all its configuration information. And that is the reason why your CommServe can only and only be hosted on the Windows server. It cannot be hosted on the Linux or any other one, because it uses SQL database in the background, which is supported on the Windows platform. Now, in the latest development, from the SQL perspective, you have seen that SQL is also supported on the Linux, but that technology has not been integrated from the CommVault perspective. CommVault still supports SQL only and only on the Windows server. So that is the reason why your CommServe should be installed only and only on your Windows server. Now, this is about your CommServe. Now, we will move forward to the next component that we have, the MediaAgent, that we have as a MediaAgent. MediaAgent is also known as a data mover. This might be a certification question as well. In certification, they ask you this question. I have got this question multiple times, where they ask that by which name MediaAgent is known, or they will say which component is known with the name as a data mover. They can ask you in any way. MediaAgent is known as a data mover. Why this has been known as a data mover, I will explain you in the next 5 minutes. We have to wait for the other component to get explained, then I will explain you what exactly the functionality of this MediaAgent is. See, this MediaAgent is a very important component when it comes to the backup performance. It is not just acting as a data mover, which I will explain you what exactly data mover means. It also powerhouse for the many other operations which are happening. When I say many other operations, I can name them right now, which include your indexing and the deduplication as well. Those processes also controlled by the MediaAgent or happening on the MediaAgent. What are the indexing, what are the deduplication, everything we're gonna in the coming up session. When we move forward with the basic training, when we move forward with all the trainings, then at that time we will see what exactly indexing is, what is indexing V1, V2, deduplication, what is the client side, MediaAgent side deduplication, partition deduplication, global deduplication, how to recover the deduplication database, filling the deduplication database, reconstruction the database, all the component related to deduplication indexing we're gonna see in the coming up session. So MediaAgent is actually the powerhouse for the multiple operations. Out of them, if I have to name it, I can name it three. The first, it's acting as a data mover. Second, it's acting as a powerhouse for the indexing. And it is also acting as a powerhouse for the deduplication process. To the MediaAgent, we have something called libraries. Libraries are controlled or attached to the MediaAgent. What are the libraries? Libraries, we are referring to the storage on which actual backup will be stored. The actual data will be stored, right? We are backing up the data. We require a storage where I can save those space or save those data, right? I require a space for that one. So that we called as a library in CommVault. Now, library, depending upon the source of that storage, from where that storage is coming up, on the basis of that one, we can have a three type of library. First is your disk library. When I say disk library, let's suppose you have a local disk attached on the MediaAgent. You want to configure them for the, like you want to use them for the storing the backup, then it will be called as a disk library. Or if you're getting an external storage from some external, like if you're getting a storage from the external storage devices like EMC, Dell component is there, HP 3PAR is there, NetApp is there. Many of them, EMC VNX is there, something like this. Like if you have external storage available, you want to get the space from the external storage, you can map those space, you can zone those space to this particular MediaAgent as a LUN, and that LUN will be visible as a local disk to this MediaAgent. Okay, and then those particular LUNs or the disk can be configured as a disk library. Ultimately, if it's a disk from which you're getting the space, it will be called as a disk library. Now, the second library that we have in the list is a tape library. Okay. Now, if you understand what is a tape library, like what happened is, if you remember, we used to have, like, it's not been very long, we still use the CD. In normal CPU, we have the driver, CD, ROM and all that, in which we can just put the CD, and in which, I can write down the data, I can read the data from that one in that CD, and I can, even write down the data. In the same way, we have something called tape libraries, in which we have a cassette like tape. Okay, we have the tape which we insert in the tape drive. We have something called tape drive. It's a physical device, altogether a physical device, external device which is coming up, which has a drive in which I insert the tape, I attach to the MediaAgent, and MediaAgent will write down the data to those particular tape. There are the multiple vendors who provide these tape libraries, which is HP is there, IBM is there, Oracle is there. All of them, they provide the tape libraries for storing your data. Now, if that is your source of your storage, if you're trying to write down the data to the tape, then it will be called as a tape library. Now, the third one is a cloud library. We have multiple public cloud vendors which are available. For example, Microsoft Azure is there, AWS is there, GCP is there. So, if I talk about the Microsoft Azure, they have this blob storage. Okay, they have the containers. Then, if I talk about the AWS, they have the what you call as the S3 bucket. Okay, if you want to use those cloud storage as a backup target, then that also is very much possible in CommVault. If that is your target, where you if you want to write down the data to your storage in the cloud, in that case, that particular library will be called as a cloud library. So these are the three type of libraries which are possible. Now the fourth component that we have in the list are the clients. Clients are the servers for which we are trying to configure the backup. Might be a server has a SQL application running on it. Might be that server has an Oracle application link. Might be you want to take a flat file backup from there. You want to have a flat file backup from the for the client. For configuring the backup, what you have to do is you have to install the CommVault agent, CommVault software. When I say CommVault agent, I'm referring to the CommVault software. There's a CommVault software which are available to back up some specific application. You have to install the CommVault software. So I will not call it as a CommVault software. I will call it as a CommVault agent. So I will install the CommVault agent on those servers for which I want to configure the backup. As soon as you install the agent on them, they will be referred as the client. They will be referred as a CommVault client. You can configure any server for which you want to configure the backup, like for which you want to take a backup. Those servers can be converted as a client by installing the CommVault software on them. Now, CommVault software, as I told you, is known as the agent. They are also called as the IDA, Intelligent Data Agent. Somewhere you will be seeing, like in the documentation, many times you will see the IDA has been written over there. The word IDA has been used. So IDA represents the Intelligent Data Agent. CommVault says that our agent is quite an intelligent one, and they use the word intelligent before that data agent. So this is about the client. Now, I haven't answered you why the MediaAgent is called as a data mover. Now I will try to explain you that why the MediaAgent is called as a data mover with the help of one example, with the help of example where I will show you how the data flow. Let's suppose on a CommServe, I have created a policy that for this particular client, today at 6 p.m. backup should be run. Okay, backup should be running at 6 p.m. for this particular client. So that policy I have configured on this CommServe. Let's suppose it's 4 p.m. as of now. Since it's a 4 p.m., so what will happen at 6? Okay, this CommServe will trigger a command to this particular client that I need to run. That it's a 6 p.m. and you need to run the backup. This client will receive the command from the CommServe that backup needs to be run. This client agent, the CommVault software which has been installed on this client, will take that command and will identify all the data which need to be backup. Once all the data has been identified, what needs to be backup, after that, what will happen? This client will send that data to this MediaAgent, and this MediaAgent will write down that data to the library. Guys, remember that the data which I want to back up does not flow through the CommServe. It does not go from the client to CommServe to MediaAgent, and MediaAgent write it down to the library. No. Once the CommServe has sent the command, the function of this CommServe is just working as a commanding and controlling unit. Client will send the data to this MediaAgent, and this MediaAgent will write down the data to the one of the libraries. To which MediaAgent this client will send the data? If I have a multiple MediaAgent, to which particular library the data will be written, that I will decide in the CommServe itself using my policy. Okay, using my few of the rules that I have. Once you have done that, okay, once the libraries are there, everything is there, like once the data has been written, or even during the backup is running, this client and MediaAgent will keep on sending the information or updates to CommServe. So from the CommServe itself, I will be able to see the progress, that how much data has been written, that how much progress has been done. Backup, like it got 55% completed, it got 60% completed, it got 70% completed. All I can monitor from the CommServe console. But the actual data is flowing from the client to MediaAgent, and then from the MediaAgent, to your library. So this is how your data will flow. When it comes to the restoration, in the same way, the console will command to the media agent, and media agent will read the data from the library. Media agent will read the data from the libraries and send that data back to the client. No data will flow to the console in that case as well. Okay. So data will flow from the media agent to the client from the libraries, not to the console. Again, at the console level, you will just able to monitor the progress. So this is, since that all the data is flowing to the media agent, that is the reason why it is called as a data mover. And this is how the basic architecture of the CommVault work. Now, if I talk about the scope of the technology or the market trends that we talk about, whatever the tools that, I told you earlier on, this is one of the tools which gives the priority above all the other backup tools. What is the reason for that? And the market of the CommVault is actually trending as comparison to its competitor. If I talk about the net backup, if I talk about your many other software, the networker, FMR and all that. The main reason behind that one is the adaptability. When I say adaptability, or I can say compatibility. When I say compatibility, what I mean is market, when I say compatibility, that simply means whatever the new technology is coming up, whatever the new technology is coming up in the market, this CommVault is the first tool which gets integrated with that. That is one of the reasons why the CommVault is picking up the market so much. Let's suppose if I talk about one of the things, very, very common thing. In 2014 and 15, when this cloud market was picking up, at that time, CommVault was the only software or the backup tool which was providing the integration with the cloud that was free of cost. When I say free of cost, you do not require to invest anything in the licensing and all that. Whereas there were the other backup tools which required some plugins to be placed in between, some external third-party tools need to be placed in between, and they will be able to send the data to the cloud. So that is not there. Even if I talk about the present scenario, now they have been a little one or two more tools which support the backup for the Docker. CommVault was the first backup tool which got providing you the facility where you can even configure the backup for the Docker. So this has been the one of the main reasons why the CommVault has been picking up the market. Its integrity with a lot of other technology and integrity with the cloud is one of the main reasons why the CommVault still remains favorite. Now in the CommVault, we have the hyperscale appliance coming up. There's a lot of models for the on-premise. For the cloud, they have a very basic deployment. We do not require any plugins, extra payout or something like this. So that is the reason why it's picking up the so much of market. If we talk about the certifications, there are the 3 certifications which are available in CommVault. That is professional. The first certification, the very first certification that you need to complete is professional. Then once you have completed the professional, then you need to complete the CommVault engineer certification. And once you have completed the CommVault engineer certificate, then you have to complete the CommVault master certificate. CommVault master certificate is the highest certificate that you have. If you want to see the details or you want to register for those certification, you have to go to the site called ea.commvault.com. That is the site that you have to go, ea.commvault.com. On that one, you can see all the details. You have to create your own account. You can use your Gmail account to create an account over there. Once you have created the account, then you can register for your exam. It's not very costly, if I'm not wrong. It's around 3,000 Indian rupees, and excluding the tax. There will be plus tax in that one, 3,000 or 3,500, something like this. These certifications are actually open book certifications. You are not required to go anywhere. You're not required to go to any of the test center to appear for them. You can register them. You can sit at home, appear for the certification. You can Google it. If there is any question coming up, you want to Google it, you can Google it. They're open book exams. But most of the time, questions you're getting on a scenario based. They're not asking a simple question straight away. Like, it might be a simple question, but they're not straight away they are asking the same question. So it will be very difficult for you even to Google if you don't have the experience or something like this. So I will always recommend, to my candidates to, if once we have done the training, just little practice for a week or 2 at least to appear for the very first certification. This is about the certification that we have. Then if I talk about the project that we're going to do, so not more of a project, it's more of a practical that we are going to perform in our lab. So when we are doing all these things, we will, when we are doing this training, we are going to implement each and everything in the lab. We have a server available. On that one, I'm going to implement each and everything for you. I'm going to show you each and every option. We're going to discuss it. So in that one only, there will be 2 things specifically that I want to just highlight over there that we're going to configure. So what we're going to do is we are going to configure a backup for the VMware. So where we have the ESX host available, vCenter available. So we'll see the details about the ESX host as well. We'll see the details about the vCenter. We'll see the basic terminologies related to the VMware. Then we will try to configure the backup for the few of the VMs. We'll try to perform the restoration for those VMs. So these are the things that we will be doing. For that one, we will be requiring the ESX host 6.0 or higher, CommServe of course, the MediaAgent, disk library, all of that we're going to set up, whatever the requirement is. In the second project, we're going to configure a backup for the SQL databases. We're going to configure the backup for a SQL database. We are going to select the SQL database from the many databases. We'll select the few of the database. We'll perform the restoration for the databases, and we'll perform the restoration for the databases, and then we'll see even we'll see the basic about the SQL. We'll try to understand the instancing. We'll try to understand about the transaction logs and all that, and the few best practices that we have to keep in mind for the SQL backup. So all those things we are going to perform as a part of a practical when we are doing it in the lab. If we talk about the lab setup, okay, there are the many time questions are coming up that how it will be configured for us, how we gonna do it, like how we gonna we can practice on our own, or we can get the access to the lab or not. So for all those things, guys, to answer all those things, see, there are the minimum hardware specification that you require if you want to set up your own lab. I will be having my own lab, but it's not feasible for me to provide you the access for that particular one, because that's a lab, like it's a server that is there with me. If you want to set up your own lab, this is the hardware specification that you require: around 12 CPU cores, 32 GB of RAM, 500 GB of hard disk, okay, and the VMware workstation. Once you have these hardware specification, I can help you to provide all the components for the lab that you require, like the CommVault software. If you require already deploy the ESX host, I can provide you the ESX host, which you can deploy inside the VMware workstation. I can provide you a server which has a SQL already installed. I can provide you a server which has a Windows already on it. Like it's kind of a VM, of course, running in the VMware workstation. So I can provide you the VM which has a Windows 2012 on it. You can install the CommServe. You can configure the MediaAgent on that. You can configure the disk libraries and all that. I understand most of the time we do not have these hardware specification available. That doesn't mean that we cannot do it. We will still be able to perform almost 70% of the practical that we are going to perform in the lab. You can still perform it by using the cloud subscription. Like you can create a VM of your own size on a cloud. You can install CommServe on that. You can install the MediaAgent. You can configure the cloud disk library. You can take a flat file backup. I can provide, like you can configure a SQL over there. You can configure the backup for the SQL database. In this way, you can configure the alerts, reports, and you can, try to browse all the common options which are there. Still, you will be able to do that. It's just a free subscription that you can create on the cloud. Like it's a GCP, AWS, Azure, on any of them you can create an account. You can create on the GCP because they provide you something around 21,000 rupees, Indian rupees for a year, that you can use it. In Azure, they provide 13K or something, but that's only applicable for 1 month. Next month again, you have to, arrange it a new account. So that will be a little difficult. So I can say on the GCP, you can create a free account and create a VM and try to host. I can provide you the CommVault software that you can try to install it on those VMs and try to do the basic operations. Okay. There are a lot of videos which are lying on the YouTube which you can refer. How to create a free account on the GCP, how to create a VM on the GCP around that one, and even I can help you with that one. If you have any problem, like you're facing some issues in creating the lab, I can help you with the lab. If you have any question regarding the timing or the even technical content, like the content about the training, if you want to include something according to your requirement, we can take up that one. We are quite open to that one. Regarding the timing, if you have any question, you can always discuss a timetable or curriculum. You can say for me that, when I'm busy and what slots are available. So that you can work it out. According to that, we can discuss the timing. It's not like there is some specific batches which are starting at the timing and then we're going to follow on that one only. No. Whenever you are comfortable, I am comfortable, I have that slot available and you are available in that slot. According to that, we're going to decide the time. So that's it, guys. That's it from my side. Thank you so much.